In this video, I'm going to show you how to remove and replace a rear coil spring in the suspension of a RAV4, located in the rear suspension. 21mm socket, and we are going to remove the tire. Now we can pull the tire off. So now we have to remove the shield. It's mounted with two bolts that are 10mm socket or wrench. And we can pull this right down. Now with a 14mm socket, I'm going to take the bottom mounting nut of that sway bar link off. Now with a 17mm socket, we're going to loosen up this inner bolt on that lower control arm. We have a wrench on the back side, 17mm, and then a 17mm socket and gun. And let's just loosen it. We're not going to pull it all the way out. That should work. We just want that arm to pivot. Now the bolt here mounted to this knuckle, it's a 17mm head on this side and a 19 on the other side. So that's an actual nut. So I'm going to put the open end on it because you'll see that the knuckle is butted right up against that bolt. You can't get anything else on it. So holding that, and I'll take a 17mm socket and let's loosen this bolt up. Now we know it's almost out, but we have to lower this for safety and put a jack under it with a piece of wood block to lower it slowly to get the spring out. Now with the jack and a piece of wood, I lower the vehicle down as low as I want to, because I also have to have the spring come down, the jack actually lower to take that spring out. So I'm going to find a good flat spot and support that. So I jacked it up to support that. Now with my 17mm socket, I'm going to see if I can get this bolt out the rest of the way. Sometimes if you have a little difficult bolt, I like to put something on the back side that will spin freely. There we go. Now with that and everything disconnected, we're going to take that jack and lower it slowly. Perfect. No tension on that spring. I'm going to leave it right there, see if I can pull that spring out. So grab the spring, and we're going to clear that bolt. Go ahead and pull it out. So out of the two, you'll see the one that has that half moon curve like that. That is the top compared to the bottom of the old spring. See that quick turn and how that's a nice smooth round turn? That's the bottom. The top has that little quick turn. So now we're going to take that boot insulator and mount it up, lining up that where it ends right to the end of that rubber insulator. Now inside the control arm is the base one. It really is just worn out where it's supposed to sit. There's a little hole, but I don't have a new one, but I'm definitely going to reuse this. You want to reuse it. If yours is completely missing or deteriorated, you need to get one. So we'll sit it right back in where it was. Take our spring, bring it down in, seat it right in that cushion where it ended. Line it up. Here we go. I'm going to hold that up a little bit right in place where it went, and I'm going to jack the control arm back up. More importantly is the top. You want to make sure that seats. Get your fingers out of there. Everything looks good, centered. And now we're going to just jack it up till we line up the lower knuckle. Looks like I went a little too far. Right there. Make sure you look at your bolt. Clean the threads if you need to. Make sure it's not rotted, rusted, half broken. Reverse the gun. Go ahead and feel free to move that bolt till it starts in that bolt into the nut. Just bomb it out. Now we can lower the jack. And we'll raise it up and torque those two bolts to spec. Now we're going to put our sway bar link together, bushing first, then washer, and start the nut. So before we torque the lower control arm and the sway bar link back up, it has to be at the proper ride height level. So we're going to get a pole jack. You can use a floor jack, anything, but you want to bring this up to the proper level so it's ride height, just as if the weight of the car was on it before you torque that down. Let's see, that looks pretty good. Yep, that's about right. So now we can torque this and torque these two bolts to the proper specs. So I'm going to snug this link up a little bit more. That's a 16mm wrench to hold that stud. It shouldn't move, but and 17mm socket. Now we're going to torque it to 55 foot-pounds. Both bolts for the lower control arm are 66 foot-pounds, and that's a 17mm socket and wrench on the inner bolt. and 66 foot-pounds. That has a fixed nut on the control arm, so you don't need to put a wrench on it. So now we can lower this pole jack or your floor jack, whichever you used. Now we're going to put that shield back up. So you've got the shield, and they have these little hooks, one on each side. They're going to go right in these little holes, that vented holes. Line them up and slide that up. See the mounting holes line up, and hand start your little bolts. Make sure they're not cross-threaded. And grab my 10mm socket, and I'm just going to tighten them up. Hand start your lug nuts. And now we'll take our 21mm socket. We're not going to really reef on them, we're just going to bottom it out because we're going to torque it to the factory specs. That one right there, the threads are stretched a little bit. That's from over tightening. We'll torque wheels. That's with the 21mm socket, and the wheel torque is 76 foot-pounds. I'm going to do it in a crisscross or star pattern. Double check. After finishing this installation, it's important to have an alignment done on your vehicle. When only the best will do, demand TRQ. the only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.